What's up, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala, where we have conversations that relate to the progression of Africans around the world, those in the diaspora, and we criticize behaviors that hold us back. We commend trailblazers within our communities. We analyze our social, political, and psychological dynamics that keeps us at the bottom of the food chain around the world. Because at the end of the day, we are just trying to get it better. Okay. We've been taking many wrong steps over the decades that needs to change. And it's right now in 2021 is the time to start having these types of conversations that would push us forward, point blank and period. So I have a guest, Ololade, in the building today, and we're going to be talking about some African cultures and traditions and how they keep us backwards. And I'll tell you guys what, man, we started this conversation behind the scene. We were talking about church. Okay, today is a Sunday. Neither myself or Ololade went to church. And we were both asking ourselves questions. Hey, why didn't you go to church? And I'm like, bro, I haven't even been to church in 2021. And he's telling me, man, I haven't gone to church in a long time. And you know, we Nigerians, we are extremely religious people. And what's so funny also is myself and Ololade were not born in Christian families. We were both born in Muslim families. But you know, somehow along the line, we started going to church and we got to this conversation. Why are you not going to church? I explained to him that I am currently extremely upset with many religious leaders, traditional leaders, for not speaking up for the people that are going through all types of oppression and marginalization in Nigeria and many other parts of the continent. And that's why I'm upset. And at the same time, these people that refuse to speak up for us, the people going through this subjugation, they are beneficiaries of these countries. Okay, for example, in Nigeria, man, we are such an extremely religious society. You go to every single street, there is a church, there is a mosque, but we have nothing to benefit from it. So what is the point having these churches and mosques praying all the time without taking action to improve our environment, our standards of living? What is the point giving these people all the powers that we've given them for such a long time? I'm talking about the religious leaders, the traditional leaders. So I'm going to let my brother Ololade speak up a little bit because I don't want to talk too much. Ololade, you can have the floor. Before you go, bro, I just want to send a shout out to my sister, Sinovia. What's up, sister? Good to have you here. And on Serial, peace, brother. Peace, family. I'm not too sure if you're a man or a woman. Peace. Let's go, brother.
All right, yeah. Like you said, we are extremely religious people in Nigeria and Africa, and you get to grow up knowing about all this religious teaching, and the religious leaders talking to you about God. You have to leave everything to God. God is all knowing, all seeing. He knows the reason why things are happening, and don't really talk too much. Don't try to oppose the government. The government are elected by God to serve you, and you have to just take it the way whatever they do, you just have to take it the way they're doing it. And like you said, it will get to a point where you start asking that question, like, if these guys are actually elected by God and we don't need to ask them, so why are they trying to subjugate us, oppress us, kill us? And and you're telling us not to do anything or not to say anything about this, right? And like you said, I've started questioning some of the silence from the pastors and the imams in Nigeria, because it is quite unfortunate and sad for you to have congregation members that are citizens of your country, where the president or the governors and the senators were not doing anything, and these people are coming out to express their fundamental human rights as a citizen of the country by coming out to protest and say, you know what, we want answers to some of these questions. We want to know the reason why you're not building infrastructure for us. You're not providing job, you're not doing anything to us, right? And you being the religious leader that is supposed to be the spiritual leader for these people, you are kind of telling them directly and indirectly that, oh, you should not try to protest, because if you do it, you are going to get the wrath of God, and God is not going to be happy with you coming out to express your fundamental rights as a human being.
Hmm.
And is you know that is one thing that we need to talk about. A lot of people shy away from it, irrespective of your ideology as a person, right? Irrespective of what you think, irrespective of how educated you are. But once you get to that religious aspect, people try to like, oh no, 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 I don't want to talk about it because
Yeah.
I don't want to
Upset.
express myself. I don't want to upset the pastor or the imam, because now I'm talking bad about the men of God. For how long are we going to be doing this for, right?
Man, you know what? One of the craziest things is we are naturally inclined to be spiritual people, we Africans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of our culture and tradition to be spiritual. That's just the way we are. Even the
Yeah.
Africans that have left for 400 years, wherever they find
Mm-hmm.
themselves in the world, they are the same. You notice that, right? You
Yeah,
go to the
absolutely,
United
bro.
States, Black
Mm-hmm.
Americans are mostly religious. You go to the
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean islands. In America, they have a culture. They call them the Gulagichi. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Not really.
Yeah, Gulagichi. It's like an extraction of Africans that are based in the
How,
southeastern part of the US, the states
how
of
do you spell it?
Georgia. Gola, I believe it's Goolah. Geechee, Geeeche. I saw a documentary on
Okay,
Vice.
okay.
That's how I found out about them. Gula
All
Geechee,
right.
very interesting, man.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are
Yeah.
so spiritual, traditional. These are Black Americans, just so you know, but they are like Africans. And then you go to the Caribbean islands, same thing. St. Kitts and
Mm.
Nevis, parts of
Yeah.
Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, all those places. And then you go to South America, Brazil,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
tons of Brazilians, the Afro Brazilians, they are very, very spiritual. They worship Orisha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me. You know, look at me, bro.
Look at me. Yeah.
Look at me in Cuba, South America,
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
African, Black South Americans. We are just naturally
Mm-hmm.
predisposed to be spiritual people. That's just how we
Yeah.
are. And it's a good thing. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when people in the 21st century have begun to heavily capitalize on our spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
then that is a huge problem. For example, churches and mosques. In Nigeria, I don't know about any other country. I know about Nigeria very, very well. Nigeria has the highest, I can bet that Nigeria has the most religious people in the entire world. What do you think
Yeah.
about that? Yeah,
Absolutely.
easy.
Absolutely.
Nigeria easily has the most religious people in the entire world. People are either Muslims, Christians, or traditional worshippers. People are
Mm-hmm.
constantly praying, oh, let's pray to God. God, please bless our country. Oh, God, please, let's pray for our leaders. Oh, pray
Mm-hmm.
for Lagos. We've been praying for such a long time. Nigeria has been existing for 60 years, and we've been praying for such a long time. And we've had multi-billionaire pastors and imams that have come out of the country. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing is constant: the constant regression in the standard of living of Nigerians since the beginning of Nigeria. Now, people might check out mainstream media and they might be fed otherwise information, thinking, oh, Nigeria is the largest economy on the continent of Africa. It's the richest country. It's the economic
Mm-hmm.
powerhouse of Africa. It's all
Yeah.
bullshit, because the average Nigerian does not benefit from any one of those positive traits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the average Nigerian is extremely religious. You are traveling from Lagos to Abuja. Before you go on the journey, you're going to pray, oh God, please don't
Yeah.
remove
Let
the
me get to my
spirit.
destination safe. Don't let me get accident on the road and all that.
God, please don't let me get accidents. I pray against brake failure. I pray
Mm-hmm.
against bad roads. But the
Mm.
truth is, if the government had built the roads using
Mm-hmm.
quality materials, the roads wouldn't
Yep.
be eroding all the time, and there will be better roads for people to drive on. That
Mm-hmm.
reduces the chances of accidents. So
Yeah.
people naturally reduce praying because at the end of the day, what I believe is God obviously needs you to worship him and be
Mm-hmm.
true to him. But he has given us brains to fix our problems ourselves. So when we allude our problems to God, the ones that he has given us the brains to fix, then we are deceiving ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we are where we are. And I have a very interesting video to share with everybody so you can understand how psychologically damaged we are. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to say before I share the video, bro?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to point out, like you said, like God has given us that brain for us to use our logic, our brain to build stuff. And in a situation where people decide not to use that brain and leave everything to God, like something as simple as building good roads, you leave it to God. The road is not good. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Like there's a pothole that is big enough to swallow a whole car, and you think you're not gonna have accident. And my interpretation to that is the fact that we become psychologically lazy as people. That
Yes.
something that we should do by ourselves, we kind of leave it to the supreme being, which is God, right? We have what it takes for us to do something, but because we tends to be kind of like lazy psychologically, and you know and try to like do something for ourselves. We kind of like, oh, there's this supreme being out there that's going to protect me. I'm just going to live my life to this God. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Instead of like logically thinking like, oh, if I have bad road, there's going to be thousands of people that are going to die on that road, and we have to fix it right away, right?
Mhm.
But you're now thinking in a way that, you know what, the road is gonna be bad, but let's live our life to God. Even though the road is bad, God is gonna protect us, and we're gonna get to our destination without dying.
Okay. I was gonna say something real quick, but let me share this video and I'll come back to that. So this is a video of young Nigerians.
Yeah, I've seen this video before. Funny.
And this is aligning with the mentally, psychologically lazy behavior,
Mm-hmm.
psychologically lazy culture and traditions that we have metamorphosized into.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what is happening. These guys are standing in front of a electricity transformer and they are praying at the transformer. They claim they're praying to God, but what I see here is people praying to a transformer and wishing that electricity flows through it from a magical source. I need to interpret what that guy said. Did you hear what the guy said? This guy
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
this man said, every
Oh,
evil spirit
evil spirit. Yeah.
that is preventing light from flowing through this
Mm-hmm.
transformer needs to
Mm-hmm.
crash down and be cast into the outer darkness. And people
Mm-hmm.
scream, Amen. I'm talking about grown adults. So this
Yeah.
shows you how one of the aspects of our culture and tradition is actually holding us back. We give these guys too much credit. These people that call themselves men of God,
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, their actions are supposed to speak up for them, not we hyping them up. And the biggest problem that I have with them is now that we're going through an extreme level of turmoil where it almost seems like Nigeria might even fall into, God forbid, another civil war. These so called men of God, it's not a coincidence that none of them is speaking up.
Yep.
Why are they not speaking up, bro? What do you think?
Okay. I'll put it in the simplest way that I understand. You see, Nigerians are pretty much divided between the elites and the. I know you don't like the word masses, but let me use the
Masses.
word masses. Yeah, let me use the
Yeah,
word masses. I know
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
like that word. So Nigerians are divided between the elites and the masses, the common men, right?
Mm,
You
mm,
see, the elites, when we talk about elites, we look at the political elites, which are the people that we blame for all the problems in the country. We talk about the president, the governor, the senators, the House of Rep
ministers.
members, the ministers, and all that. We talk about
Mm,
those guys. But other elites that we seems not to talk about are the religious elites and the social elites. And
mm.
I'm going to break it down a little bit.
Okay.
You see, the religious elites are like the pastors and the sheikh and the imams and the priests. They
Yes.
represent the interest of their church and their church alone, or their personal interest.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. You have a church that is huge, big, over 100,000 congregation members, right?
Yeah.
And you have this pastor that is making millions of naira, or if not billions of naira, on a monthly basis from the fact that they've kind of brainwashed, if I can use that word, their
Hmm.
members that no matter how much you make, you have to give 10% of what you made to the church, right?
Yes.
And this same person, his interest when it comes to the country solely depend on making that 10% and being regarded, being put on that pedestal of the spiritual, father, the general overseer, right?
Mm.
And despite the fact that the congregation members from his church are, you know, facing the hardship and the suffering in the country, he's kind of less concerned about it. He's more concerned about his own gain. That's
Mm.
number one. Number two, these guys, they kind of, they kind of work hand in hand with the political elites because they know that the political elites, they have the power to kind of like bring them down, right? So in
Yes.
order for them to remain relevant or for them to continue, you know, making the money they are making, they would
Mm.
rather not talk against
The
these,
system.
politicians because they know if they talk against the politicians are coming for them, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
instead of them talking against those politicians, they would rather keep quiet and ask the congregation members that are suffering from the mismanagement from these politicians to be praying for the politicians. That all what you guys need is to pray for them, and by you praying for them, God will guide them and God will make them to do the right thing. But they know that these guys are not doing the right thing, and they know that they have the power to tell them that, you know what, you guys should start questioning these guys and protest and do this. But they would rather not say it because they know if they say it, they are coming for them. So that's
Mhm.
for the religious elite. The other elite, elitist group in the country is are the social elite, the celebrities, right? Those
Mm.
ones, almost all of them are skeleton in their cupboard.
Yeah.
Almost all of them are getting paid by these politicians, right? So
Yeah.
as a result of that, they too they keep quiet about it. And these are the people we look at. We look for. We kind of like place them highly,
Yeah.
right?
We
Because
look up to them.
we look up to them, right? We place them highly and we kind of listen to what they say. And in a situation where these guys are not seeing anything wrong with the government, you start questioning yourself like, am I the one having problem? you know, like is it true that this government is not doing bad thing? Because from all I can see, the government is not doing the right thing. But my pastor is not saying anything about this. This celebrity that I'm looking up to is not saying anything about it. That means maybe I'm just the one that need to put in more work or need to pray harder to make this guy to do the right thing. You get what I mean?
But
So,
the crazy thing is, we've been praying. We've prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed.
mhm,
Right from childhood, they would tell us, "Oh,
pray,
for,
pray. Mm-hmm,
pray for light. Pray that you pass your
mm-hmm,
exams. Pray that
mm-hmm.
you make it home safely from your travels. Pray
Yeah.
for everything." And then all of a sudden, many Africans or Nigerians in general, they travel
Mm-hmm.
abroad. And once they get abroad, they become less prayerful because
Yeah.
abroad, where they find themselves in, they have better infrastructure, they have better
Mm-hmm,
security,
mm-hmm.
architecture, things are way better. So the
Yeah.
need to pray for a safe journey from Abuja to
Mm-hmm,
Lagos has been removed, eliminated, because in the new country where you find yourself in, they have
mm-hmm,
protocols that you have to
mm-hmm,
follow as a vehicle owner that requires
mm-hmm,
you to maintain the functionality of the brakes.
mm-hmm,
Okay. You maintain the functionality of everything on the vehicle. Otherwise, you will get pulled over by the police.
mm-hmm,
When you get pulled over by the police for having a busted tail light, a busted brake light, right? It looks
mm-hmm.
like the police officers are wicked, but the truth is, in the grand scheme of things, they are trying to create a safer road usage for the citizens. In a
Yes.
country that is lawless, example Nigeria, where if the police pulls you over, all you have to do is pay him some bribe. They're not even going to pull you over in the first place for having a busted tail light. They will pull you over because they are just randomly searching people. That's what they do. And then you pay a bribe, you go along on your journey. The road is full of potholes because the contractors that were given the money to fix the roads didn't do the roads. They simply put the money in their bank accounts and they don't go to prison because the judiciary system is messed up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just doing a comparison of two societies. In the first society,
Mm-hmm,
Nigeria, where everything is all man for himself, you have to pray and pray and pray to get to your destination. Number one, you might have kidnappers come out of the bush while you're driving, stop your vehicle, take you into the bushes, kidnap you, call your family members and ask them to pay ransom. Number two, you have the issues of bad roads. Okay. The potholes are everywhere on the roads. You might be driving 100 kilometers an hour and then you run into a pothole, you roll over. When you roll over, if someone survived in that vehicle, they cannot call 911, they cannot call 999. There is no emergency number for them to call because there is no emergency medical services. So, are you seeing the differences between the societies? And that's why we
mm-hmm.
have been reduced to people that just pray and pray and pray without taking actions to fix our societies.
Yes. Yes. And also, I need to add that, like you said, you leave a country that, all what you hear is pray, 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 and things are not working. And you come to a country where, things are working and all that. One other thing that you didn't point out is those other countries that you go to where their infrastructures and all that, they don't pray as much as the country you're coming from.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, the system is not the prayer based system in a way, because nobody really cares what religion you practice. If you are elected into position of power and as a citizen, you have obligation, you have duties for you to exercise. It's kind of like obligation for you. So nobody really care about how you pray or whatever you do, but just make sure that what you're doing is the right thing.
Mm.
And in our own place we are coming from, people are telling you that the reason why things have not gotten better is because the prayer that you're praying is either you're not praying it the right way or you are not praying enough. So the problem or the solution to the problem is more prayer, or praying in the right way, because you've not been praying in the right way or you're not praying enough. You get what I mean? So
Yes.
it all goes back to the fact that, all what we need is to pray and pray and pray. And by the time we pray, and that's something that we've been doing for the last 60 years. And by the time we pray, someday something is gonna get better.
You know what? At the end of the day, we're not even trying to bash our cultures and traditions because we have many things that are good about us that many people view from an inferior point of view, but they're actually good. Okay, so we're not trying to bash us for being spiritual people, for believing in God. No, that's not what we are trying to do. But we are just trying to implore more people to start using their brains. Okay, if you're not one of the contractors that was given a project to fix in terms of infrastructural development. Maybe a government organization gave you some money because you have a company, an engineering company. They told you to build a bridge and a road. You refuse to
Mhm.
use top quality materials to build those bridges and roads. And then the roads are washed away in a year's time. And then more people are dying from road accidents along that road. It's
Mm.
not, that is not about prayer. I'm sorry to say, prayer is not a solution to that particular problem. Your
Yeah.
your actions are the solutions. So when you see, I get very upset because you said earlier that you divided it into political class, social class. Did you also mention
Mhm.
traditional class?
The religious tradition are kind of like, on the
Interwoven.
same, interwoven in a way, because the traditional rulers are supposed to be the custodian of the culture of the people, the tradition, the culture of the indigenous people of the country, right?
Hmm.
Which is the traditional religion, because we had those religion before, the
Anything
Islam and
else?
Christianity, yeah,
Yeah.
came into the country, right? And
Yes.
these guys that are like kings are supposed to be the overseer, the people that have the knowledge. But these guys also belong to that social class, the religious class, because they are supposed to be the one that fight for or speak for the indigenous people when things are not going right. But you see them in a relationship with the political class, right?
Hmm.
And they also are after their own personal interests. So
That's it.
in a way, yeah. So everyone, all these religious leaders and celebrities and traditional rulers, they don't care about the common man.
Yeah, they're all in the same category. And that's why
Yeah.
when the common man is asking for different types of solutions to the problems, like a constitutional
Mm-hmm.
overhaul or a restructuring process for the entire country or for the breakup of the country, the
Mm-hmm.
people that are the so-called elites in that first class that you described,
Yeah.
they never support it because they are
Mm.
beneficiaries of the status quo while the masses, the 99%, are not beneficiaries. But I was gonna say that listen, the solution here is simple. We need to educate more people to realize that God exists. If you believe in God, fine. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
spirituality you believe in, fine. That's left to you.
Mm.
But you also need to use your brains.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not only about relying on what someone else tells you that your future is, or when someone tells you that, oh, there is a witch in your village that is attacking you spiritually. That's why you're not making any economic progress. No, that's not the truth. You're not making economic progress because the politicians, okay, starting from the president, they are not making good economic policies that are favorable
Mm-hmm.
for the people. It's not no
Yeah.
witch from your village. It's not when the pastor comes out and tells you, you guys, I want to pray against job loss. Come out. I'll pray for you. That pastor is
Mm-hmm.
a scammer, okay? Because he
Mm-hmm.
can easily predict that you will experience job loss in an economy that is not favorable for the people. So he's just using probability.
Yes.
That's just it. That's what it is. All right. So I was gonna say something again. At the end of the day, our conversation has to do with on the African Wahala. And I want everybody here, please do me a favor. Click on the like button or click on the dislike button if you like or you do not like the content respectively. And
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to the channel, share the content, let more people come um participate. And if you want to join in this conversation, indicate. I'll send you a link. You can call in, um, express your points of view, your opinions. Let's all have a conversation. Let's learn from one another. So this conversation here has to do with African people and people of African descent all over the world. Because we find ourselves at the bottom of the food chain, whether that offends you or not, it does not matter. Okay, I'm just stating the facts. We are at the bottom of the food chain all over the world. Okay, and for that reason, we need to find a way to get out of this position. It's been going on for so long. All the methods that we've been trying to make some progress, it's not been working. And I genuinely believe that until the continent of Africa is fixed by Africans, Africans all over the world will continue to remain at the bottom of the food chain and will continue to be disrespected. All that shit that we claim about, oh, these people are racist, oh, these people don't like us, these people come to our countries and they disrespect us. It's going to continue. They don't give a damn about us because we don't even give a damn about ourselves. So we need to be truthful to ourselves, okay? And then we can maybe slowly rise out of this bottom of the food chain position where we find ourselves in, okay? So, what's the link? Polymath. Someone wants to call in. Thank you, Sinovia. Ridley, Sinovia, you can call in too, sister. I'll put a link in the comment section, okay? Yeah. So, Ololade, you know, earlier we were talking about the generational mentalities that we have, you know, because me and you are Nigerians. And it almost seems like we are speaking for the entire continent of Africa and all Black people around the world. We might not be 100% accurate, but to an extent, we are, you know what I'm saying? We know what we are talking about because the Nigerian space, being a country that is diverse, 300 ethnic groups, 200 million people, it's almost like every single African group all over the world has a representation in Nigeria. So when we speak from a Nigerian perspective, it's, you know, it's kind of close to what you experience in different parts of the world as an African. So we were talking about, and we have Dr. Polymath here. Thank you for coming through, Dr. Polymath. I'll put you on the mute for one quick second. Me and Ololade are just going to go back and forth on one topic, then you can come in, okay? Okay, yeah. So we were talking about the generational mentalities amongst Nigerians. You know, the people that are currently in their 60s and above, those that are between 40 and 60, and those that are between 40 and 20, and then the ones 20 and below are kids. So what did you want to say about the dynamics that exists in the mentalities of these people and how it is negatively impacting us? Because there is a huge cultural aspect to different generations. There are differences. So what is your best analysis of the dynamics that exist amongst all those generations and how it's currently holding us back as a people and what we need to do to go forward to break this craziness?
So I'll just try to like divide the generations into like 3, 4 or thereabouts, and I'll go as far back as maybe the people born in 1920s, for example, and people born between 1920s and 1960, right? And the people born 1960 to like, let's say, the 80s, and the people born after the 1980s. So the people born in the 20s to the 60s, these are people that experience, you know, colonization, right? They saw the white people came in, you know, took the land from their fathers, their grandfather, and all that, and they kind of have this perception of the white people being more superior in a way, right? Also, these are people that, you know, religion is kind of what, because when the white people came in, they came in with religion, and they came in with, you know, a white god, white angel, the black is devil, and all that. So their perception is perception of people that kind of see the white people better than them, because the color of the devil and the evil and, you know, whatever is kind of like similar to their own color. And the color of God, the color of the angel is similar to white people's color, right? So those are the group of the people. And if you look at the present president and the past presidents in Nigeria history, are people born between 1920 and 1960. Nobody else. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And the people born past that period, the post independent period, they kind of have similar mentality too. You know, there are people that they grow up listening to their father. They have to kind of follow the culture, the tradition. You don't question someone older than you. Whatever the pastor says is the right thing. You dare not stand up and say, no, I don't think so, right?
Mhm.
They too kind of like have the same mentality as those guys born between 20s and 60s. But the post 80 guys, right? The
Mm.
post 80, they
That's
are
my
kids
generation.
which is our own generation. They are
Yeah.
kids. They are kids that when they were young, they too have that kind of culture that you don't listen, you don't question the elder, you listen to the government, you know. But things change when the internet came into the picture, right? When the media, you know, like the television and radio and internet came in, because they could see things that are happening outside their continent. They could see things that are happening outside their country, right? They
Yeah.
could see that the government of a country like, let's say, Canada or America or France, they they are questionable to the people. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Now the generation post social media time, or generation that actually grew up with the social media, they have a mentality that is different from those older generation.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
the conflict we're having in the country now. Because if you look at the government, the most of the
And I
governors,
love
the
it.
president, the senators, and all those guys, they they are generation where, oh, they oh, you don't question someone older. When we
Hmm.
were younger, we never
Yes.
questioned, so why
You
should you guys
never
question
questioned.
us?
Yeah.
Yeah, why should you guys question us? You guys are younger, you don't know what you're doing, and we will do whatever it takes to to put you in your place. Because that's the way they were put in their own place too, by the white people, by the African, the older African generation when they were younger. So now that the younger generation are questioning them, they don't take it lightly. They don't see it as something that's reasonable, that if I'm questioned, I need to answer that question. They will
Let me
come
ask. Let
with
me
a,
ask you a quick question, bro.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
prior to the colonization era, when
Yeah.
people invaders started coming in, do you
Hmm.
think our natural cultures and traditions did not have that aspect of you not being able to question your traditional leaders?
It does to some extent, but there is, and that's one thing that I think we've kind of misunderstood in a way. Because if you look, if, and I see a lot of people talk about it, as the African culture doesn't it doesn't allow kids to it doesn't allow kids to talk bad to other. But if you look at where I come from, for example, the Yoruba people, there's a saying that, you know, they I'll say it in Yoruba, then I'll try to interpret it in English. Like they say, um, ọmọdé ọmọdé ń gbójú wo àgbà, right?
Mm.
And tí àgbà bá ṣèbàjẹ́, ọmọ àṣìgbà fún. And for the benefit of people that don't understand, for the benefit of people that don't understand that, it means that as a younger person, you shouldn't be rude to someone
Older
older
than
than
you.
you.
Yeah.
But you, as an older person with experience, if you misbehave, the younger generation has the right to treat your mess up.
Hmm.
They have the right to correct whatever you've done that is wrong. So now the narratives that the older generation are saying now is they cut out that part where the younger people have the power to correct whatever wrong thing that you, to question you, to correct you.
Hmm.
They're taking it out for their own benefit, and they give that narrative that as an elderly person, a younger person should question you. You get what I mean now? So even
Absolutely.
our tradition as people has been corrupted with Western ideology in a way. You
Hmm.
understand?
Yeah.
Because they kind of like rub it around, this westernization, and try to take us on all the traditional, culture that is not favorable to them. They took it out and only say things that's favorable to them in a way.
Okay, brother, thank you so much for that contribution. I want us to listen to our guest, Dr. Polymath. Let's just learn from other people. And just so you know, I made a few notes on what you said. I'm going to come back and address them and add to the things that you said.
All right, sure.
So, Dr. Polymath, thank you for coming through, brother. You have the floor.
Hello, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for coming through, bro.
Yeah, no problem. This is an interesting discussion because I always see us, and when I say us, I mean Africans as a whole, repeating very similar things as we did in the past. For example, when the Kakunas, I use the word Kakuna to mean
Muzungu.
When the Kakunas came. When the Kakunas came, we didn't have a collective mentality of threat analysis. We kind of they were trading with us, but we didn't think, okay, well, what else might he be thinking about? Because we hadn't developed some things like they had. For example, in Europe, they have a book in those days called Prince by Machiavelli. This book is actually outlining how to do Machiavellian tactics, which are basically when you have different orders of plans for future state. For example, let's say the Chinese plan. I'm just saying this is a plan. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. But this has happened already anyways. They will give you a debt, knowing very well it's unlikely you'll pay it back. But if you pay it back, they win. If you don't pay it back, they have taken access of your seaport, for example, in Zambia, those kinds of countries like that. And then they can now make the money back and more by controlling the import and export of goods through that channel.
Yeah.
And then they can do the same thing by doing a different deal in another African country. So overall, their plan is that it doesn't matter which path happens. If you pay it back, great. You pay more interest. If you don't pay it back, great. So it's that Machiavellian kind of thinking that I will say is not common in us naturally. And to be honest, that's not relevant. It's something that can be taught, to accept that this is how the world works. There's a separation in our minds whereby we project how we wish things were instead of actually accepting what actually is. Like you said, a lot of conversations in the space especially focuses on what the Kakunas are doing. And I'm always saying it's irrelevant what they're doing. You should be thinking about what you're doing. A lot of conversations are about how they're doing this to us. No one is doing anything to you. You are allowing it to happen to you. Communication involves both parties playing a dance. You are allowing it as a dance partner to happen to you. You have to say, no, I don't want to be the person being led. I will choose my own path of following. And I'll give an example of one president I did respect, the late president of Tanzania. Why do I respect him? Two things. There's many things, but I'll say two of them. He didn't want Tanzania to get into debt by another country. So how did he do it? Well, he built the bridge. There's a beautiful, the longest cable bridge in Africa. It was a Chinese built project. How did he do it without debt? Well, he decided to do this contract where the Chinese company will actually own the stocks of the toll prices that people use in this bridge. So anyone crossing the bridge has to pay, obviously, toll prices across the different islands, and the Chinese government will make money as an investor of that bridge, as opposed to them coming in and giving you debts, etc. So he found an interesting way to solve that problem. The second reason I respect him is this is a man who thinks in real time. Now, the way it came across may have seemed crazy but to people who don't know science, but I'll explain it. Tanzania did not have a lockdown when the president was alive. Now, this is interesting point here is that in the beginning, you could argue saying, okay, we don't know anything about this virus. We should be careful. And I agree with that. But once the information was out there, the target age, you can check it on Worldometer statistics, it clearly affects significantly people of a certain age and, health conditions prior, etc. There's certain steps which it affects. Tanzania and East Africa didn't have this virus in any significant rate. The point here I'm making is that he decided to not have a lockdown because there was no need for a lockdown just because the rest of the world was having a lockdown. That's the point here, is that you don't need to just follow what everyone else is doing. You need to analyze your own country. See, in India right now, they have a huge coronavirus issue. You should be responding to the problem with the evidence that you're seeing, not just because everyone is running around like a headless chicken, right? There is no lockdown for Ebola in other countries because there is no Ebola outbreak in other countries. Just because something's happening everywhere else does not mean it's happening to you. Now, if it does happen to you, respond to it according to the evidence. And that's what I respected about that man. He was not just following things, he thought for himself. Because here's the issue what a lot of Africans don't know. More people have died from malaria, cholera, and all these diseases than ever will die from COVID-19 in Africa. That's a fact. Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs, and poverty is killing far more people because people can't work in that continent that the virus ever will. In Ethiopia, for example, do you know how many people died from COVID-19? Last I checked a week ago, was less than 5,000. Do you know how many people died from flu in 2019? 65,000.
In Ethiopia?
Yeah, in Ethiopia, 65,000 people died of flu in 2019. Only 5,000 people have died of COVID-19 since it happened. The point here is we can't do this thing whereby you're reacting to a problem as if it affects you. We really need to start thinking for ourselves. If we see the problem, attack it head on. World War, why is it called World War when it's actually European tribal warfare? These are the kinds of things that I still see that we are not really thinking deep enough about these problems. That's why I respect this man. He was on the verge of solving so many different problems. Unfortunately, I hope he would have trained more people. I don't know if he did, to think in this kind of way. He's an engineer, of course, that helps. That, you know, he's not like a war veteran or something. He has a particular background of solving particular kinds of problems. Maybe that helps, but I really do think it's his personality. That's what I want to say just for now.
Bro, let me add to what you just said. You know, when Nigeria, because that's where I'm from, announced a COVID-19 lockdown, you know what I was saying to myself? And Ololadeto is in Nigeria and he might attest to this. I was saying that this might be a blessing in disguise, because once you force people to stay in their homes in a country where over 80% of the population relies on their daily hustle to survive, okay, and you force them to sit down in their homes, which means they're not going to be able to go out there to make their daily bread. And then a hungry man with hungry kids would not have a choice but to face those military officers that are pointing their AK-47s at you. They're telling you, my bad. The police officers, the soldiers are telling you, sit down at home. This is government orders. Sit down at home. But then you're hungry. Your kid is dying of hunger at home. You don't have a choice. You're going to have to go out there and fight against the soldiers. So to me, that was a great opportunity for us to revolt against the government, because I'm like, hunger is the ultimate weapon that nobody can actually fight against, that nobody can actually tolerate for such a long time. But then, you know, like you said, bro, Dr. Polymath, you said we copy everything that everybody else does because we are lost. We're just, I'm sorry to say, man, my platform might sound a little bit extreme, like I'm such a pessimistic person. I apologize if that's how you feel, but I'm just saying the truth from my own point of view. We are lost, bro. Okay, you can't just keep following what everybody else does. United States says, oh, we're going to go on a lockdown. Europe says, we're going to go on a lockdown. China, lockdown. And then you Africans, where your population has majority of it hustling, trying to survive daily, and you're telling them to go on the lockdown as well, without any, what's it called? These other countries have all these types of social amenities where, you know, in the United States, they have food stamps. You can walk to a homeless shelter. You get some nasty food. At least you get some food. But in countries where you don't even get none of that stuff and they tell you to sit down at home and die of hunger, bruh, it's not going to work.
It makes no sense. How are you supposed to send your kids to school? Like, they don't realize. My main issue with them is that I immediately, when the whole situation happened, me and my friends started looking at the data, and I analyzed, I broke it down, you know, the age, you know, if you're over 60, maybe it might be, you're more likely, if you're a man, it's more likely to affect you badly. If you have, you know, diabetes or all those kind of conditions. I looked at the stats of Africa, especially most Africans are actually under the age of 30. That's over 50% of them. In countries like Uganda, it's like 60% of people like under 18 or something crazy like that. Don't confirm the stats for Uganda, but generally, I might be wrong there, 5 or 10%. But the point is, Africa has the youngest population in the whole world, and majority of them are younger than 30. That part is fact. Now, if that's the case, and this virus does not significantly affect young people, meaning it doesn't actually kill young people, people give you this argument of, oh, it happened to this person. Exceptions to a rule does not affirm the rule, right? It's like cars sometimes have accidents, right? But majority of the time, you're going to be fine driving a car, which is why we drive cars. There's a risk associated with just living life. Yeah. So you can't get zero. Even the flu kills young people sometimes, right? It's just similar. The issue here is we're not responding to problems with the adequate response, right? A thief comes into a house, and then we're shooting with a bazooka, destroying the house itself, as opposed to being surgical and use something smaller that won't also destroy the house. That's what's happened. A small virus comes in, and then we actually we're doing something like a lockdown, which then destroys the country in the process. It doesn't make sense.
Bro, I'll tell you what, man. During the lockdown between 2020 January and 2020 December, 7 million more Nigerians fell under the poverty line, extreme poverty line, living under $3 a day.
Wow.
So tell me, it's crazy, man. This is insane. 7 million people. This is the population of many countries.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's what it is, man. But yeah, so I was going to ask you a question. Yeah, keep going. But I was going to ask you a question. Yeah. So my question is, with respect to our cultures and traditions, I know you just thoroughly explained how it's almost like we don't even have a culture anymore. We're just trying to follow what everybody else follows. But when it comes to spirituality, religions, and I'm not too sure where you're from, but where I'm from, we are extremists. Extremists. Okay.
That's the case in East Africa as well.
Yeah. So can you advise people on being more logical as opposed to being foolishly spiritual when it's unnecessary?
There's several levels here, actually. And, when I lose some people, they'll know when I've lost them. Well, the first level is that the following attitude is pretty bad, to the point whereby, let's say if you go to Kenya, right, that's where I'm from, and what you'll see in even Uganda and Tanzania, and I'm guessing Nigeria too, is you'll see in the markets people selling a painting of either the president or Jesus or something, right? Now, this painting of this Jesus obviously looks nothing like the majority of the people in that country, right? Now, the interesting thing here is, the reason why I say we're following is not even because you have a painting of a Kakuna Jesus. That's fine. Okay. The reason why I'm saying we're following is in their own Bible, their book explains Jesus as having woolly hair, right? Revelations 1 verse 14 to 17. This guy had woolly hair. And you're thinking to yourself, okay. So first, if you even go and follow the logic of your own belief, he was not a Kakuna. There's really only one kinds of people in this world that have woolly hair. Yeah. You go again, the same passage describes him being brown as if burned in a furnace. So you're like, then what they will tell you is, because you see, this is interesting. Like, if you just read those texts, it tells you he was a brown guy, or well, she says dark brown, but with woolly hair. You do not see anything of the image that is represented. Now, why is it important? Marketing. The Kakuna did a really good job with marketing with that painting designed by Leonardo da Vinci. Of the Pope's cousin, or it's not a cousin, it's a nephew. Yeah, Pope's nephew at that time. That's who masqueraded as Jesus. The point here is that these people don't even go and check the background information on the facts that they're being told. Jesus was a brown man with woolly hair, as described in their own Bible. Instead, these leaders will tell you that color is not mentioned in the Bible, even though it is everywhere. They'll keep telling you and repeating these things which don't make sense just to corrupt your mind. And I do think it was on purpose, meaning the way that the initial missionaries who taught them certain things. You go to parts of Africa and you hear Lutheran churches, or what do you know what this even means? There's a person called Luther who had this particular understanding of this particular sect. You're following and adopting someone else's culture. It's not even the religion, they're adopting the culture itself. That's part of the problem. It's the full adoption of the culture and the rules around it do not question, because the whole point of the European traditions with religion when it came out is you're following things in a certain way, you're not questioning things. They adopted that same culture. If you go to Ethiopia today, that has arguably the longest living form of Christianity, with the Orthodox churches of Russia as well, is that in Ethiopia you're now getting a growing Protestantism there. And when you go to Ethiopia, you ask them which Christianity, either you're Muslim, Christian, and if you're Christian, it's either Orthodox or Protestant. The interesting thing is, why a Protestant? Why not just Christian, right? Protestant is a particular type of Christian who is protesting against the Catholicism, right? But they're not even abstracting and going beyond, oh yeah, I'm just Christian, I'm Protestant, I'm Luther. All of these particular cultural motifs is what they're adopting, as opposed to the freedom of so-called Christianity. So they're just simply copy-pastoring things that they've been taught. And even in a country like Ethiopia, which have a lot of pride, there's a large growing not even just Christian, Protestantism, which is a form of Kakuna cultural artifacts. So arguably the country in Africa, which should have, at least maintain more cultural, and they still do a lot, but I can see how this is going to keep moving as time comes in. For example, you go to Ethiopia, look at the pictures of Mary and the disciples, etc. You'll see most of them, they're going to be dark. Yeah. However, the Kakuna has convinced many of them, including the elders, now actually no, Jesus was actually a Kakuna man. That's now the narrative that they're now believing. You see, even them with the richest history that's actually still maintained in the whole world, then now a lot of the elders are now starting to reconstruct some ideas and now thinking that Jesus is Kakuna. So this is the interesting thing that
you know what I can summarize from what you're saying, bro. I feel like you're basically telling the people, do your research. Stop following what everybody tells you to follow. Use your brains. Be more logical, okay? Stop following what everybody else's culture tells you to follow just because you found yourself in that position right from birth. Now that you're an adult, it's your responsibility. You have Google. This is the age of information. You have all types of resources. Use those resources to educate yourself so that you stop making these mistakes that your parents made, that your grandparents made. And then maybe in the future, we African people can be self-reliant, if that is the best way to put it. Self-reliant, and we can maybe put our efforts together and build our continent so we can be elevated from the bottom of the food chain where we are currently in.
100%. Critical reasoning is something, in fact, I'm going to be developing a course on my YouTube channel on critical thinking.
What's your YouTube channel, bro?
Okay, it's just called K Polymath.
K Polymath. Okay, I'm searching.
Yeah, K Polymath. Now that I haven't started doing the videos yet, but I will soon. But okay. I do want to teach our brothers and sisters on critical thinking. So it's a skill. It's one of those things. Let's say if you're doing something like a lawyer or an engineer, you're trained to pick out problems, and then you're also trained to find a solution that is actually possible. Some of us, unfortunately, when we're looking for solutions, we're looking at very complex solutions that are not feasible at the timeline that we're looking for, instead of focusing on things that can start to be done easily, right? Yep. For example, let's say Nigeria, right? This is just, an example. This is just an example of the things that we can look into.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Is this your channel?
Yeah, this is it.
Yes, okay. I just subscribed, bro.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
man.
You guys should subscribe on K Polymath, man.
Yeah, thanks. So critical thinking will allow us to be able to find a problem, find an actual actionable meaning you can take action on that problem and find a solution. Let's say Nigeria, okay, one big problem right now. Electricity not being there every single day.
Wow. So the whole world knows that we don't have light. Wow. Okay, keep going.
Right. Now, you know what we should do? If we wanted to solve a problem like this, is you set up a you write up a few youth people, you get enough people. I guess Twitter is blocked now, but if Twitter was not blocked, you get enough people in several different social medias, and then you message the political leaders who are in charge of electricity or energy ministers. Make sure that the names the fact that this job is still pending, target like a targeted response at them, and then until that one particular problem gets fixed. You might even allow some of the other things which you also value not to be necessarily looked at so seriously, but you're doing that so that you can prove the ability for things to get done and for your ways of being able to make things get solved. So you're doing it just to prove, okay, I know how to do things now. This is how we did it last time. You now start to build that model of this is how to solve problems. This is the kind of level of problem that we've managed to solve, and that experience builds. And then you continuously Nigeria said, oh, okay, so we solved that problem. Now we have this other problem here. And then, because at the moment when you're trying to attack every problem at every angle, a lot of it's going to miss. And there's also less accountability because you elect a new minister, then they have their own things that they're promising the people. Then they leave the problem that was previously tried to be fixed by the previous minister. So there is no continuity. So first, there really has to be accountability and continuity of the problems that you say you want to solve. There are millions of problems, but you have to focus on the key ones: food, health, education, and energy, or security, of course, of people. That's I don't need to say that part.
I feel like, bro. Let me just cut you off. I feel like if you can create food security, access to energy, the security problem would naturally go down because more people will be employed, and with more employed people, less people are interested in going into crime.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I 100% agree there. Yeah, so because I think the other issue is a lot of us do like to. It's easier to blame the kakunas instead of taking responsibility. And Ike Ogiamen on the chat, he's mentioned this analogy before: is that if Bill Gates hit you with his car, and even if you won the lawsuit, or you won the lawsuit, right? You still are the one responsible for going and taking your rehabilitation because that leg is your leg. It affects you the most significantly. You may even have the money from him, but your own life quality is dependent on your ability to go and do the rehab yourself. No one can do the rehab for you. So even if we can attribute blame to the kakuna and maybe even get some retribution from that, we still have to be the ones to fix the problems that exist in our countries because we are the ones that live it.
Yes. Bro, you know what? Ololade, we're going to come back to you right now, but I'm just going to say something for like 30 seconds. I completely agree with Dr. Polymath saying that he's done blaming everybody else for our problems. I am in that boat. Hello? I am done. I am not going to blame any Chinese for coming to Africa to kick our ass and take advantage of us. No, I blame us for letting that happen. I'm not going to blame the Indians for setting up shops in Tanzania, Zanzibar, dominating South Africa. I don't give a damn. We let that happen, okay? And I'm not going to blame the Europeans, the Americans. They are the world powers, without a doubt, for continually maintaining the let's talk about France, okay? I see so many Africans constantly blaming France. Oh, France this, France that. No, you know what we're supposed to do? Hold your leaders accountable for maintaining those evil relationships with France and with all those other countries, because the more they maintain those relationships, the more we remain in poverty, the more we have local conflicts, all types of militia groups, rebel groups springing up all over the place, getting weapons from everywhere, killing people. The more there's going to be violence and turmoil. That's why we have to hold our own people accountable for maintaining crazy relationships with those foreigners, point blank, a period. All right. So Ololade, man, the brother Dr. Polymata said so much. The man is so intelligent. So I'm grateful we brought him in. Do you have anything to say to so many things that he has said? You can just focus on 1 point or 2 points. I can help you.
You mean me?
Yes, you, brother Ololade.
Oh, all right. I just want to point something out while he was talking about the religion aspect of things and the fact that, in the Bible, it was actually stated that Jesus has curly hair and, the skin color, the description depicts African. You understand? And, it's so funny that if you go all around the world, the only group of people that doesn't have an image of God or image of their Messiah in their own image is the black people. You know, if you go to Europe, you know, Jesus, you know, what they believe in looks exactly like them.
Yeah.
If you go to India, you know, their religion, what they believe in looks like them.
Kama Sutra, Abi?
Yeah, in Hinduism, you know, whatever they believe in, they have different
Hindu,
gods.
yeah.
And the same thing with, you know, the Chinese, you know, Buddha, you know, looks
Buddha,
like
yeah.
them. The funny thing is, I got to realize that even the Christian among the Indians and the Chinese and the Koreans, if you Google Chinese Jesus, you'll be surprised that it looks exactly like a Chinese man. You get what I mean? And the same thing if you Google Indian Jesus, it looks exactly like them. We are the only people, and what that depicts is psychologically as people, we have been defeated to believe that, you know, anything that looks like us is not good enough.
Damn.
You get it? Anything like looks like, you know, a Caucasian is something that is good, and you know, things that look like us is something that is bad. And once you've been defeated psychologically, you know, because you've been defeated, you know, psychologically in terms of religion, every other thing is probably not going to work right for you, because we seems to all circumvent to this tradition and religious belief to kind of explain the reason why we're not doing fine.
That's interesting, man. I never knew about this, you know.
Yeah, it's the day I got to know about this, I was furious. I was mad. And I one thing I hate most in my life now is if I see any church, any African church, where the picture of Jesus is blonde hair and blue eye, it boils me inside.
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Like, I've just learned something new today. I'm gonna Google Indian Jesus right now to see what it looks like.
When I went back to my mom's ancestral home, I went straight to the wall, took out that Kakuna painting of Jesus with the maids, and they were looking at me. It's like, oh, what are you doing? I said, we're gonna go burn this. Like, oh no, we can't do this. I said, no, don't worry, the blame is on me. We burnt it, and we had a nice bonfire and some skewered meat. It was good. He had to go. There's no reason that guy is standing right there on the wall.
Nah, man. It's crazy, man. You know what? I'll tell you guys what, man. And I want us to round up this show in about 5 minutes, if you guys don't mind. I'm going to end this conversation with this. We African people, at the end of the day, we are at the bottom of the food chain. Hate me for saying it. No problem. I have no problem with you hating me for saying that. We are at the bottom of the food chain. When you realize the problem that you have, you accept it, then you have a chance to resolve that problem, point blank and period.
Absolutely.
But if you keep on deluding yourself, saying, "No, man, we have Oprah Winfrey, she's a billionaire. We have Dangote, he's a billionaire." No, what do you mean we're at the bottom of the food chain? Get out. We had Barack Obama. Really? Globally, collectively, we are getting our asses whipped badly, point blank and period. And the only way, like I just said, to solve that problem is to acknowledge it and work towards fixing it. So one of the things that we need to do is a mental revolution. And this is us taking a page out of the book of the Chinese. The Chinese, you know what they did? Because Ololade actually educated me about this. I had to go do my own research after he mentioned a bunch of things. The Chinese, for a long time, they closed their borders. They ensured that everything that they consumed was manufactured inside of China because they just had their asses handed to them by the Japanese during the Second World War, I believe. And then it was such an embarrassment that a tiny country like Japan could conquer and dominate Chinese. So they decided, you know what, guys? We're going to close our borders. We're going to build what we have to build, and we're going to get respected. Fast forward 60 years later, they are the top dogs in the world, or at least they are top competitors. Back then, we were on the same level, the Chinese and Africans in general. We were all third world, poverty-stricken people. Okay, but fast forward, they've been able to elevate themselves to where they are right now. So we need some sort of mental revolution where we can unlearn so many craziness that we've learned throughout our entire lives that was passed down to us from our parents, our grandparents. We need to unlearn a lot of those things and relearn things that make us self-sustainable and people with integrity. We've already gone a long way in destroying ourselves, our countries. I can give you guys a typical example. In Nigeria today, we are a country where you are absolutely required to cut corners in order for you to thrive, in order for you to move forward as a citizen. If you don't cut corners, trust me, your life is going to be extremely hard as a Nigerian in Nigeria. That's how it works. As a matter of fact, if you're an individual that is aspiring to be a top politician and you somehow find yourself in that position where you are a top politician and you have all good intentions, your plan is, I'm never going to be involved in any form of corruption. I'm going to blow the whistle if I find my colleagues being thieves and stuff like that. Guess who's going to attack you first for behaving that way? Your family members. Your family members are going to call you out and tell you, you're a stupid dummy. This is your opportunity to enrich yourself and to enrich us. Then after your family members are done dealing with you, then your colleagues that are fellow politicians will come and deal with you. So I'm just going to stop right there. I'll let you guys go one more round. Someone else is in. Bo Diddley. I'll let Ololade can go in next. Then Dr. Polymath can go in next. Then we'll let Bo Diddley talk for a few minutes. Then we'll round up the show.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right,
so-
brother. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like you said, we having our ass kicked everywhere in the world, and for so long, there are some things that we've learned that now we know because we have tons of information at our disposal, right?
Yeah.
We need to do our personal due diligence. We need to do our personal research to determine what is right from what is wrong, right? I'm talking to like an average African now, right?
Yeah.
Because by so doing, if we get a lot of people that are well enlightened enough, it's gonna be easier for us to kick all these bad leaders out.
Yeah.
Because if we seems to be going with the normal flow and act as if nothing is going wrong, these guys are not ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You see the case of Uganda, you see the case of Chad, and these guys are dying off, and their sons, their kids are taking over from them.
That's just madness, man.
And if those guys die too, their own kids are going to take over from them. So at the point, we have to say enough is enough.
Yeah, enough is enough.
We have to find a way to kick all these guys out, and we can only do that if we are enlightened enough in almost every aspect of life.
And that's exactly what we are doing right now, man. Man, bro, thank you so much for coming through to the show. Man, it's always a pleasure to have you. I know you had a lot more to say. We just didn't have the opportunity. And I don't like this live streams going for too long, to be honest with you. It's just too much work, right? But we're going to come back. We're going to come back some other time, man. Bro, thank you so much. Right. God bless.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Yes, sir. Dr. Polymath.
Yeah, I think, it's been a very interesting conversation. And like you said earlier, part of, if not the most important part of fixing a problem is first identifying it correctly so that you can actually focus on it. Like if you're trying to play a sports game, like, I don't know, basketball, you need to know where the hoop is. And then you at least can know, okay, how do I shoot the ball in the hoop? If you can't even agree that there's a hoop, then you might be lucky. Sometimes a ball ends up there and you get a point, but that's just playing luck. In reality, if you really want to orchestrate a winning strategy, you need to identify the pieces that are not correctly placed.
Facts, man. Thank you, bro. Are you like an actual medical doctor or a, what I'm saying, doctor of education?
Scientist. It's a scientist, right?
Yeah, sorry. Not a medical doctor. I'm a doctor of science.
Nice, man. I appreciate you, man. Bro, I subscribe to your channel. I look forward to your next content, man. You're such an intelligent brother. Thank you so much for coming through.
No, no problem. Thank you. I really enjoyed the build today. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Let's go, brother Bo.
What's going on with you, brother? You know I've been
I'm
down
good,
in the
man.
chat the whole time listening, but I waited to the end to call in because I didn't want to derail from where y'all was going at with it. But I wanted to ask you this, right? Because you know I'm African American, so I see things from this perspective. How do you see the influence, not necessarily of just Pan-Africanism, but the romanticization of Africa, and I mean to the subject, right, of being some of the effects of the culture in Africa that may be holding it back, but then you have an influx of people from African, specifically African Americans, right, that embrace going to Africa, and they buy into some of those cultural practices and kind of like promote them and romanticize them in a way, if you understand what I'm saying. So how do you see that influencing or could possibly influence the future? Because whereas you as an African who grew up entrenched in the culture and you understand the nuances of some of these of the culture and how, just take for example, right, to be specific, right, let's say African spirituality, right? Now it's not all bad, right? We're not saying that, but if you didn't grow up in the culture, you won't understand the cons to it and how you have to navigate around it. Whereas you can't just walk into anybody's house or any person that says that they're a babalao and allow them to perform certain acts on you or give you certain drinks or whatever, right? So it's a bit of naivety when it comes to African culture. You know what I mean? That a lot of people coming to the continent are coming with. And I just wanted your own perspective on what you can give to African Americans specifically, you know what I'm saying, as it relates to African culture and what to embrace and what not to embrace and how to just navigate that whole scene.
Okay, you know, thank you so much, brother, man. First and foremost, thank you for coming through. You've made this conversation more colorful because now we are having a dialogue with Africans from the continent, Africans from the diaspora. It's awesome. I love it because this is a way for us to exchange cultures, understand ourselves a little bit more better. Maybe in the future we can form a strong alliance and all get out of this bottom of the food chain position because we all are in it together. Now, with that being said, Africans coming from the diaspora, coming to the continent of Africa, I understand a lot of them are very emotional, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. You ought to be emotional. I can imagine what the experience will be. I wasn't born on the continent of Africa, and then I have an opportunity to go to the continent of Africa as a Black person. Once you step outside the airport, I can imagine that surreal feeling, you know, just seeing everybody looks like you for your first time in your entire life. You know, the atmosphere just feels weird. Like you'll be feeling some tingling sensations all over your body. I can just imagine that feeling. So without a doubt, it's an exhilarating feeling for anybody coming through to the continent for the first time from the diaspora. Yeah. But you also need to be logical. Be emotional, experience all your emotions, but be logical at the same time. Don't just entrench yourself in everything that everybody offers you. They're like, oh, come and try this. This is how we do things in Africa. And then you jump right into it without doing your own research. You should ask yourself the first question. If this is how you guys do things in this continent, in this country, wherever you find yourself in, if you guys do not have a decent life, the majority of your population are not living in their optimal standard of living. And you guys are maintaining this status quo. So is that status quo really good for you people? You should ask yourself that question. Talking about spirituality, I was living in Abeokuta in 2008. The Alake of Egbaland, whom is the ultimate traditional leader of the Egba people. Okay, he died. When he died, they had to bury 7 people with him. So they passed out a circular around the town that Everybody, for the next 7 days, make sure you're back in your homes at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Can't remember. If you're found outside your home at 7 p.m., anything can happen to you. More than likely, it's going to be foreigners that are passing through this kingdom that will be killed and used for that sacrifice that needs 7 people to be buried along with the Alake of Egbaland. Tell me from a logical point of view, as a human being that has humanity in you, is that a good cultural practice?
Absolutely not.
That's bullshit. As far as I'm concerned, that shit is barbaric. Okay? I have nothing positive to say about it. And if anybody wants to come tell me that, man, just keep quiet. What do you mean? You're just bashing your own culture. I have nothing to say to you, man. You're one of our problems, okay? If anybody comes to me and tells me, bruh, man, we need to start using our brains, okay? We need to get rid of some foolishness, point blank and period. You don't just kill random people because a king died. Like, bruh, this shit is already getting me emotional, okay? It doesn't make any sense. So if you're an African from the diaspora, okay, please do your own research about whatever you're trying to dip yourself into before jumping into it. Otherwise, you're just going to be contributing to our subjugation as a whole. Point blank and period. We are not perfect. Some of our cultural traditional belief systems are good, but some are bad. We need to get rid of them, period. Yeah, that's why I don't know if I really answered that question or if I was just being emotional.
You hit it on the head. You nailed it. You hit it on the head, and that's why I wish a lot more African Americans that do call themselves quote unquote Pan-Africans, get these type of perspectives and come on these panels. But I know that when it comes to Pan-African panels, that you'll be wasting your time, right? Because of the high emotions and whatnot. So it's an uphill battle, but I think those that do the research, though, they'll be receptive to it and they'll find their way to it. But hey man, like I said, man, I listened to the whole panel, man, and it was interesting. And I like getting these different perspectives, man, because I come at stuff from a real cerebral point of view. And I know it's not receptive to a lot of people, but I feel like within a lot of these discussions, man, as it relates to whether it's Africa or Black American community in America,
Caribbeans,
it's too much fluff. It's too much fluff. We feel as though we gotta pat each other on the back too much, and it's not enough realness within them, man. But salute to you though, brother, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for, contributing. And I see another African American here, Grim. Thank you so much for coming through, man. Listen, I'm going to round up the show right now. And I'm also going to say that we just have to be realistic, okay? We have to be realistic about where we are, the things we are doing wrong, and we need to stop blaming everybody else for our problems. We have to start holding ourselves accountable, especially the political leaders, traditional leaders, religious leaders, because these guys are extremely influential, and they are the reasons why we have to make foolish relationships with foreign entities that ends up putting us at the receiving end of the short end of the stick. So we need to, instead of blaming the Chinese, blaming the Europeans, blaming everybody else, France, whatever, blame your politicians for keeping that arrangement continuously, okay? Instead of blaming France for the problems in Togo, why don't you blame the Togolese president for taking over power from his own father after his father had been in power for decades? So father and son have been in position of presidency for 50 years, and majority of the population is living in poverty. So to whose benefit is that? The only people that benefit from that arrangement are the presidents, the politicians, the people that they set up their relationship with. I'm talking about France. But the people that suffer from that relationship is the masses. That's why the masses needs to hold the politicians accountable for having those crazy relationships with the foreign countries. So that's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much for coming through. Ayis, my brother Ayis. Ooh, my brother Ayis is in the building. Ayis, how far now? Thank you so much for coming through, brother. Abe S, thank you so much for coming through. Abe says the tradition of burying people with the king is a bad practice that likely originated from the kings subjugating their people and placing themselves in god-like positions. All facts, man. All facts. And he said, I got here late. We have to be realistic about where we are. True talk, man. Thank you guys so much for coming through, man. I'm signing out right now. I appreciate you guys. But before I go, click on the subscribe button. Click on the like button if you like the content. Click on the dislike button if you did not like the content. Share the video and all that good stuff. Thank you for coming through. It's the African Wahala. Peace.